hosted by A.F.F and Dr. Dave Coy.
GM, and welcome to a special episode of the Undead Hour Show. I'm your host, A.F.F, joined today by my man, Vngrd from the Mutant Cartel. Vngrd, how are you today?
Doing fantastic, A.F.F. Thank you for allowing me to take part in the Undead Hour. Let's get it.
My guy, I'm appreciative of having you here. I know you didn't want to have the cam on, so we're going to make some accommodations for you, but regardless, it's the things that you say that I'm most interested in as opposed to those beautiful eyes, so we will make it happen today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My doxing rule of having to meet me IRL shall continue to apply. But for you, A, anything can be done, my guy.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you. So Vngrd and myself have a multi-year relationship at this point. Strictly platonic, of course, but my man and I met down in Miami for Fuck It Weekend in 2023, if I remember correctly. We were able to link up as Cartelians for the first time IRL and made a connection that has just been growing ever since. That I'm super excited for, so that's why I'm glad to have you here today, V. Can you tell us just a little bit about how you got involved with the Mutant Cartel?
Yeah, certainly. And I have to admit, too, the pinnacle of my existence here is meeting you in Miami, too. So let me just be crystal on that. But no, certainly, yes, this relationship that we have, has definitely been extending for quite some time. And, one of the greatest things about this space, and we'll touch on this in a moment, is the relationships you make, right? That is so key and such a critical component to this. And, which is why this series of the Undead Hour show that you have here is like great to get to know more about the people we spend so much time with. So, and again, stoked to be, one of your guests here. But look, in terms of, my background in this space, like before, throwing my hat into the ring of Web3 in general, I was doing some warehouse management. I was doing some e-commerce, kind of with a main focus on logistics. And that was kind of my main background when it came to kind of my professional career. And of course, a life of customer service effectively, I guess is a nice way to put it. And effectively, the cool thing about the way it worked out is, a lot of times in this space, sometimes it's a little bit of luck mixed with hard work with some great timing, right? I noticed that about a lot of things. And, when I got into the space originally, I was trying to, cast my net far and wide and be in, a ton of projects and get excited. Like, originally I first started off with Top Shot. It was kind of my introduction to, digital collectibles and all that stuff. And I'm sure other people had the same trajectory for how they got here. But long story short, like, once I really sunk into NFTs, I was into, 20 projects at one time. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. I have a chance to meet all these new people and, get some new experiences. And then I realized at some spot where I was like, you know what? I think I need to kind of put a focus, more concerned effort on, a tighter number of projects as opposed to like kind of like stretching myself thin in so many. And I realized that there's this one, created by Yuga that, looks pretty cool. It's got a lot of traction. Maybe I should give it a look. And of course, the rest is history from that. And, I started off, with the Mutant, of course, and I acquired my Mutant just a week or two before the Cartel opened. And from there, once those doors opened, it was 2 weeks later on the yacht in NYC for 8Fest. And, here we are a few years later and still, creating, still, building together and knowing that, we're stronger as a collective unit. And, a few of those things that we've been helped to put together, to me, has been some of the most rewarding, experiences I've had so far in this space.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not everybody in the community knows that you were once in days of old a member of the community and not boss. So perfect example of people who can come into the cartel to make a difference. You've been here grinding and working. I know you previously were a co-host, such as myself, on Mutant Monday, and worked your way to be the premier host of the event, of which you've done 100+ shows at this point. Just been slaying, dude. So, like, as a community member shifting into a role of Boss as in the cartel, did things change for you?
Certainly. Let me tell you what it sure did, because as we all know in this space, right? There's that kind of that point of no return. It feels like, right, where we're in our Web 2 worlds, right, and it's so hard for some, and anyone who's talked to a normie, nowadays, it's a challenge even to speak about the industry potentially, and to actually cross that threshold of realizing, hey, I'm gonna leave a Web 2 employment, for example, something the only type of resources I've known up until that stage, and kind of taking that proverbial leap for me, it was kind of a big choice there. But I realized what I felt was a future industry that is on the precipice of really expanding to something monumental. And so for me, I did, as you mentioned, I started out as a community member, for those I think it was a good 3, 4, 5 months where I was kind of in the space, and I was trying to show some type of value, some type of way of bringing people together. And eventually that did lead into the opportunity to escalate myself, through a few different categories of, hosting spaces, putting together IRL events, and, trying to helping to bring community together, doing recruiting, for example. That did land myself an opportunity to speak with the founders, of Novel Labs and the Cartel, to get opportunity to be a boss. And from that, like, it definitely changed a lot of things. Of course, like, I work more. I'll tell you that first and foremost. One thing, when you're working in Web 2, there's opportunity. You may have a set schedule depending on your line of employment. And in this case, we realized in that old meme where the guy's like, yeah, I left a 9 to 5 to work 24/7, 365. It may not be as the numbers may not be as thick as that, but nevertheless, it definitely feels like it at times. But the way I look at it in this capacity is, this industry always keeps you on your toes. No joke. Like, you never know what is going to be around the turn, around the corner on the next turn. You never know what is going to be presented on any given day. But what you can control is the effort, and like the dedication to what you're doing. And that's always how I felt. And it's like, I want to keep my compass pointing true north. And this connection with Novel Labs and the Cartel, and again the relationships I've made, really has shined a light on me that this space really can have some impactful momentum moving forward. And the people I do it with is also, of course, the cherry on top. Like yourself, like our fellow co-host of Mutant Mondays, Leo, and like you said, to appreciate the words. We've already passed that 100 consecutive mark. We're about to be on 108 coming up, to start next week. And for me, I did start off as a co-host, and for me, it was great to kind of, at some point we were all a little wet behind the ears, right? And we needed to get that experience. And I was stoked for those that kind of helped to usher me in. And, from there, one of my favorite sayings is, foolish is the student who fails to surpass the master. And the way I look at it too is, if you can take, the best qualities that, were delivered to you and expand upon them as best as you can, then whatever the future you want to be, it's in your hands. And that's definitely what I feel that I've been able to accomplish so far, and collectively, and what the Cartel, is aiming to do continuously now, with 3+ years of creation under our belt so far.
Yeah. And something to be proud of too is, I mean, within that time frame, there's so many cartelians that have launched projects of their own, from connections that they've made within the cartel, to ideas that they had and built out with the help of the community. We've crossed chains and everything, so it's pretty amazing to see. It's like, how does it feel? Like, what's your community sentiment for like the Mutant Cartel community, like, and why?
Certainly, like, for me, the way I looked at it is, I've been around since we were under 100 members, I believe. I think I was like between the 50th and 60th or so, members of the community at the outset. To see the growth, right, in an organic fashion, to where we're not paying people to join, we're not like begging people to stop what they're doing to be a part of what it is, of what we're creating. We allowed what was being put together to speak for itself, and then just to showcase our passion for it. And the way I've looked at it is, there have been so many individuals. I think at our peak was roughly around 10,000 members, and again, we kind of look at that from a Discord standpoint. The numbers actually may not reflect fully on just how large, of a footprint, or a handprint, you want to say, so to speak, to put in cartel terms, that we've been able to leave upon this space. And in terms of like the sentiment around kind of like how I operate and things of that nature, like the way I look at it is I've always kind of like fancy myself as a people person that, you know, kind of is more concerned with the group's, you know, feelings and what matters to them more than maybe per se even yourself, so to speak, right? We're always out there because we want, you know, and I see some of the similar qualities like in someone like yourself, you know, like almost a, you know, someone that the community reaches out to, right? To bounce ideas off of, to like, shoot the shit for all intents and purposes, right? But to be together with others that can give us that opportunity where maybe we need that escape from our daily routine, or we need a way to vent a little bit, or we need a way to talk about some of the creative juices that are flowing within us. And I feel like in a totalistic form, like in totality, that, you know, the cartel does offer that for so many people. And the reason I say that too is we have people from all different walks of life, for all different spots on the face of this earth, you know, encompassing all different time zones, right? One person's GMing while another is saying goodnight. And I love like the connections, you know, that we've been able to foster so far. And like you mentioned, so many cartelians have gone on to do so many amazing things. I mean, case in point is what we're doing right now, you know, with the Undead Hour, and, you know, the creations that emanated like from yourself, and with Dr. Dave there with the Skull Legion and the Zombie Horde, like, you know, something like that, to see like how that has progressed, watching the both of you get mutants for the first time, like it has just been such like an amazing experience, right? To see people just flourishing even more, and then people creating their own collections, you know, and Ape Chain has just been like such a revelation for people to have almost like a seamless launch pad to like get their creativity out. And we've seen, you know, numerous cartelians, you know, create their projects, bring them out to the masses. And like for us, it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's one of those accomplishments that can be felt like as a collective group. Like we feel great for the individual or individuals, you know, plural, that are responsible for creating these things, but as a whole, like, you know, it's a great representation of our community, like in totality. And for me, that just makes me feel great to know that we have such an amazing group of individuals, like such creativity, just busting at the seams, so much passion for what they're doing. And then the support for one another, I think, is one of the key components too, right? It's, you know, in order for us to exude our personal greatness, you know, we need the greatness of others. And that's exactly what I see just time and time again. And again, I have to say this too, and you know, the flowers, I'm sure you get them all the time with all of your guests here, but you know, you certainly deserve your bouquet here, because how you're bringing people together in this fashion too, to be able to highlight some of these items that, you know, we're mentioning here, really is very impactful in this. So, you know, definitely stoked for that, and can't wait to see all of the other creations that will continue to be flourishing, you know, from Cartelians moving forward.
Yeah, it's really cool to see people supporting each other. You know, like you mentioned, people reaching out to us, leaving comments on our show, subscribing, etc. And from there to minting other people's projects and getting involved with that. I mean, we've had a number of cartelians who have launched on Ape Chain and are doing stuff over there. So it's like, it's awesome to see, you know, you go over there and start linking up with people and it's the same old peeps. So you're like, what up, cartelians, rolling through. And, you know, even in other side today, we had a whole group of us together hanging out. So it's, you know, when people ask what's going on, and I think when they're bored in a community, it's like, I don't think they're really involved in the community, because I think one thing that I've noticed that we do is like celebrate each other's wins. And I think that's really important because it helps motivate people to build and move forward. It gives them engagement, it gives them encouragement, you know, and we're building together and experiencing these things together. So I really commend the Mutant Cartel on this top tier community. I just have met so many great people, and I'm very thankful for it, for sure. Every day, it's like, you know, having the opportunity to sit down and maybe highlight your message, but having access to be able to even have that conversation and get that information, I think is really cool. So it never ends. There's always somebody kicking out something new and doing something new. So it's like building through the bear has been just as exciting. So like with Bull coming, I think with everything that's launching right now, it's just such an exciting time to be a part of the new cartel.
Yeah, 100%. And I know we're going to get into this, you know, in just a moment here too, but you know, it really feels as though with each different stage of creations that we're able to, you know, put forth, and while taking collective, feedback, and realizing when we start from the drawing board that, this is our opportunity to paint the canvas as we want it to, be painted, so to speak. It's amazing to think what, as a group that, and to give a little history into Novel Labs, for example, like when I started, we were, I think, a 3 or 4 employee team, for example, that got started in this process, right? And, and proverbially in the trenches, as one of the favorite, statements that's out there right now. And from there, we've grown to roughly, we'll give or take about a 20-member team, up until, kind of the current standings as of now. And like, that's just a microcosm, right, of where, the entire body of the creations of their Novel Labs umbrellas, have gone. And definitely we're seeing it, time and time again. And, today, as you're mentioning there too, for example, with Project Dragon, and reaching a new record of, individuals playing, in a first person shooter open world environment at any one given time. Big hats off, to the Other Side crew and Yuga for being able to pull off, the feat in this fashion. But of course, what do we see there? Is Cartelians, head spinning like, Dr. Dave, and break dancing, and dapping up and everything out there on the battlefield, and spraying their little friend like they were, Tony Montana Juniors all over the place. It's really great to see, right? And like us, that's the cool thing about it. And I love what you mentioned there, is that like being able to celebrate everyone's successes, is truly, a sign of like, a healthy environment for others, right? It's that, and I'll never forget the day, and I just mentioned it, a moment ago, but like the day you got your mutant the first time, or someone like Avi, for example, it's so cool because like you'll DM me or other members first before you make it public, just because the excitement level is just, it's like through the roof, and it's really just, it's ready to pour out of your, your veins, like, like a juggernaut fused hound, right? And I think about it for a moment, and I'm just like that level of excitement right there is what, like, I just want to capture in a bottle and just release, at the times when we need it the most. And it's so amazing that, and it's happened time and time again. Like, when I first got my mutant, I remember just, that feeling of just like, just kind of like, ooh, what did I just do? But, oh, wow, now I have this special asset. And to see that time and time again, it's been a real thrill, you know what I mean? And like, we feel as though, especially with the cartel, outside of the official swamp, with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, we're the largest collection of mutant apes anywhere in existence, right? And we've, at least, we'll take a piece of the credit, whatever the case may be, however people want to construe the details, but we certainly have helped to onboard many mutants, so far in this space. And seeing them, for example, come to life today in like Project Dragon, on a daily basis, throughout our conversations. It's just, it's such a great sight to see. It makes me really proud to be a part of, this entire, freight train that we have, just continuing to move along the tracks here.
Yeah, and like choo choo, motherfucker. Speaking of the Macy's, it's like, onboarding is obviously our specialty. I know NFD always calls it out when there is one, saying like when royalties for onboarding, but like, we work hard, and it's a significant achievement within the space. But I don't know if all the mutants realize like how they're tied directly into our lore, and how like this all came to be. So like, can you walk us through some of that to break down like the foundation, because this has been like quite the journey from the beginning, its inception, this idea through now. I think people need like a TLDR, if you can.
Yeah, certainly. So at the genesis of the Mutant Cartel, basically, long story short, is the Bored Apes kicked these monstrosities out of their yacht club, right? Mutants were looked at as the ugly stepbrother of the yacht club when they were first created, when the first original apes guzzled some serum and found themselves kind of, in an episode from Super Troopers, right? When you can't get any more under the influence on that baggie of shrooms there, right? It's like, oh my God, what's going on? And what is this here? And the way it is formulated is the founders of the Mutant Cartel, the esteemed Black Suit, and the lordesman himself, the Duke, had a blood oath to stand to make the world a better place for the mutant apes and to get their just due. So effectively, the Mutant Cartel was a vehicle to launch an IP creation engine circled around the Mutant Ape Yacht Club, right? And what they stood for, and getting their time to shine, right? And I mean, it's an interesting the way the story started, because, you know, it's funny, and we look back into it, you know, and we think back to the days of the Mutant Apes actually being created, right? And we were looking at it, and there was a gap there. I mean, I remember being at that first Ape Fest, and I'll never forget, like, it was almost as if it was a classist society. It felt like you're a bored ape, and, you know, you're standing a little on stilts a little higher up than all the rest of the, oh, they're just a mutant community, right? And then you realize, well, shit, we got strength in numbers here. You may feel as though you're perched up on a loft, but in reality, we 2x the size of you here, right? And we have some of the most passionate individuals in here. This is the opportunity, right? Like, any good idea is one that solves a problem that can be practical to those that want to get involved in it. And sure enough, hence the birth of the cartel. And I don't want to paint the original apes and those that may still be around into any type of picture, you know, so to speak, or box them into a corner, because we realized the respect factor was received right away at that point. Like, we realized it was like, hey, we're out here doing things, you know, to a certain scale, and we want to continue to scale it up. And so with the IP creation engine, we've been, you know, creating, you know, first started with the Cartel Chronicles. Effectively, it was like telling our story, right? And showcasing. The coolest part about it is the first time I saw my mutant featured in the lore, for example, or we saw Red Hat's mutant, or Nixeros's mutant, right? And so many other, like, well-known individuals throughout the community that, like, earned themselves a spot, you know, that it just continued to matriculate and move forward. And, you know, we had our collections created, you know, spawned because of it, original IP that we created ourselves, you know, from Novel Labs and the Mutant Cartel, you know, being the Mutant Hounds, for example, and how it's transitioned now to the fourth generation of that collection. But lo and behold, one of the coolest things too I see is those that have rode with us and offered their, you know, blood, sweat, and tears with us, they'll find themselves entrenched into the story as the cartel is unfolding it. Like, for example, and just because, you know, we may be engaging in some fisticuffs one day when I'm standing on the Black Suit side and you're standing on the Dark Fang side, and what do we see? One of A.F.F's insane hounds just chilling there in the lore, you know, representing the army that Dark Fang is forming in his twisted path to what he feels is the power he's trying to accumulate here and take down the cartel. You know, this story that we've been unfolding, to me, is one of the coolest parts of that we've been able to create here, is unfolding the story, you know, of the cartel and the Hound saga as it's continuing forward, and then to see the reactions of those that see their lore featured in it, right? And to get the opportunity to kind of like bring their IP to life in at least one form, you know, and of course Serum City being another form, for example, our Web3 city builder. All in all of those things, you know, encompassed into one, have really just been a great experience to witness, and looking forward to that continuing, because as we know, we have a new collection coming out with more IP being offered, and this is a great opportunity to find some of these special entities, you know, featured, you know, in the story as it continues to unfold.
And that new collection that you talk about, I want to give you a break here to catch your breath, because there's a lot to say around that. I know the Fusion collection has been coming. This is something we've known about. This is something the team has been building towards all along. So like the significance here, I just want people to like recognize like how significant this collection is in terms of like what's being delivered here, because it's like when I zoom out to the point that we're in right now, you can see like the plan, like the roadmap of how we got here. And I think it's really impressive to see this deliverable with this interesting gamed out like burning mechanism of increasing rarity by burning the previous collection as you move forward. Like, what was it like to be involved with a team and like delivering something like this? Because obviously it takes time, but to create all these different mechanics, and it's like delightfully complicated. I know that's a thing we like around the cartel.
Yeah, certainly it does take a little bit of requisite knowledge of each step to move forward. How much
Yeah.
time do you have? Because I'm going to do my best Dr. Dave impression
I
right
got all the
now.
time in the world
Yeah,
here.
my man, just tease.
Go off.
Love you, Davey boy. But look, and looking at it from my view, this has been really cool the way it started. I mean, back in December of 22, for those that can remember all the way back in the history books to that time, I know in the DGen's mind, that's like a decade ago. But look, we
Oh,
minted the
really?
collars originally, right? There were 10,000 of those bad boys that went out. And of it at this stage, we're currently looking at a number south of 1,000 collars remain today. And
Wow.
the question may be asked, well, how did you get there, right? So as we know, as a part of now being the fourth generation with the fused hounds, you needed to burn a collar to create your original hound. And the saying that was coined because of that, of course, is that I didn't choose my hound chose
My
me.
hound
And
chose me.
we've talked about that, and such a cool thing, for those who have been joining on our Mutant Monday spaces, famously, Carl, and one of the most famous hounds of record here too, and throughout our entire ecosystem. Leo's Bionic General, another one, Dr. Dave's, Firemouth, Skeletal, right? Like
Mhm.
there's been so many that, it's like we didn't know what particular you're going to get. But that game theory of, ooh, I'm going to burn this collar to see what it is. And like, look at where it's landed you, as faction leads that have taken, what was provided and taken it to the max, right? But from there, and to me, this is the most difficult decision in the entire history of the cartel right now, is the next chapter is burning those hounds for materials.
Yep.
And look, we've all had to make just some of the most difficult decisions, and ponder on the outcomes afterward for some of these. And should I do it? Should I not do it? Asking others about it, and you mentioned it there too, is now we're sitting on roughly, give or take, 7,000 hounds at this stage right now. So from a max 10K, or if you want to say at this point, roughly 9K, because there's still a little, roughly around 1,000 collars left, of
Mhm.
that, 2,000 hounds, give or take, have been thrown into the incinerator to create materials, as a rough estimate right now. And if you think about that, that's 2,000 difficult decisions that have been made, right? And you realize too, or maybe for some it was a quick decision, like, this trait, I want to get rid of this and have less of them, or I'm screw Dark Fang and his faction led hounds, I'm going to burn some of those, or vice versa to any black suit side. So maybe some
Totally.
of those fisticuffs that have elevated to that stage where people are taking it to a personal extent, and the war that's being waged, they're firm in their stance on their side of the line there. And certainly to see that part of the process has been cool. And now, of course, we are at the part where this fourth chapter is here, where we're turning fusing materials into our newest creation, the fused hounds. And of course, in this, one of the things I really liked about this was the incentive behind it. And I know we're gonna, at least I'm sure we're gonna touch on the Serum Dao in just a moment here. But one of the key components to this is that if you participated, and it's funny, you talked about earlier in this show here today about people's participation level and getting the most out of it. And we've always said this, like, look, if you want to get the best experience out of something, you're going to have to go off and participate to a certain extent, right, to get the most and to maximize it, the juice from the squeeze that you're putting on the proverbial fruit. And for this, if you participated in the burning mechanics, a cool way that was built in to part of that process is that you get a larger serum allocation the further down the line you get. So for example, a collar offers a certain amount of serum points, which are redeemable for the serum token at the token generation event, but a hound offers more serum than a collar. A material offers more serum than a hound. And at the next iteration of the point allocation, a fused hound will offer the most out of any of the chapters of the Hound's saga. So it's one of those things where you realize the further you get, the more rewards you get. And we thought that was a really cool way to reward those that have been participating with us, and also to incentivize, of course, the participation level. And as you said too, those rare hounds, like anyone, I love like a double merch trade, or for some people like that. Some people love the diamonds, the golds, the
Sure.
zombies, for example, for yourself,
Yep.
they just got rarer throughout this process by the deflationary mechanics. And I love that like status as it has continued to unfold, and that will unfold until, you know, a grand total of 5,000 hounds have been burned. So, you know, we're about the 40% mark of there, you know, 5,000 total materials, creating, you know, a grand total of what would be 2,500 max fused hounds in this process. And to see that unfold has just been, you know, a really cool part of that process. And I'm not gonna speak for anyone, but I'm that degen that as soon as it's open, I just roast my, like, basically my entire load there. And maybe I'm taking a page from my boy Leo, and the way he operates. But look, when it comes to a degen, like, sometimes we just can't help it, right? And we need to know, you know, what is going to be on that next step. And you know, when it comes to the fused hounds, you know, we're right on the doorstep of this collection revealing. Of course, we have our Dutch auction coming up, starting on this coming Monday from the airing of this taping here. And of course, the reveal following right after it. And one of the cool things, too, that we're really stoked about this is we have the opportunity now also to give away a Mutinate to one lucky Fused Hound holder. And how amazing is it? It's an M1 merch cap. You know, I'm a merch maxi. Anyone that knows me, any collection I ever, the first thing I ever look for, just like you do a zombie, is a merch trait in any capacity. So we're giving away an M1 merch grin to one lucky Fused Hound holder that will be taking place during reveal week. And it's just a great way for us to also give back to a community that's supported us so much. And for those that are participating in our activations, that it's really cool to see that this is going to be taking place as well. So all in all, from my standpoint, all I got to say is everything burns.
So you're telling me Fused Hounds get the most serum allocation. And they get you entered in a Macy activation as well?
That is correct, sir. The most serum allocation
immediate utility
from the hounds, you know, that assets there. The number one asset that will get you serum allocation will always be your Mutant Cartel Oath. The VIP will be number one, a pledge will be number two, but of the Hound Saga, and coming in at the next highest rate will be a Fused Hound, then a Material, then an OG Hound, and then a Collar, for example. So it's kind of like tiered in that process. But yes, when it comes down to it, Mr. Slay FF, the man who fits 25 hours of work in a 24-hour day on a regular basis, there surely is some utility attached with acquiring a Fused Hound. For those who have already participated in it, you're probably well versed in this, or those that are set to embark upon that journey, you will indeed be entered into the MAYC giveaway that we mentioned launching in the reveal week. You will be privy to being able to claim the serum token. You will have a staking mechanism that will offer serum multipliers for doing so. You'll be able to claim your serum passport, which allows you to participate in governance for the Serum Dao. You'll be able to join the Mutant Cartel world. You have your verified Discord role. You can take part in our IRL events. You can be a part of what we're creating in terms of our IP creation engine there. You're going to have, and this is a cool thing, knowing the success of Project Dragon, you know, on today's airing too, that just passed, and the record that was created or broken today, excuse me, is that we are having purpose-built 3D models for the other side, for the Fused Hounds as well. So for a few of those items there, certainly can start to pique the interest of those that may want to engage in participation of the Fused Hounds. And we are looking forward to these as they unfold and as they relate to the upcoming Serum Dao.
Well, kudos on this. I'm obviously in love with this collection. I've been waiting for it for quite some time. I think it's brilliant. I think that the build out was exceptional. I love the gamification. I love all the mechanics involved with it. I think the team executes these very cool experiences for us to go through as we move through the stages. So kudos to the team on getting this done, on delivering it. I cannot wait to see the collection and dive through everything. We are absolutely going to start trait nerding again. I'm so excited. I have something to research extensively for a number of weeks, I expect. You know, I mean, to see just the different forms and then the different skins and everything, it's going to be crazy. I know that the traits are wild. Had had Mr. Weiss on the show, had McTavish on the show. They both couldn't say enough good things about the fusion art and everything coming for the community.
Yeah, certainly. And like,
Yeah.
your audience, of course, for those that have been tuning in and checking out your every episode, I'm sure you try to dangle a carrot and see if any of those two artists might, take a bite and offer some information. And, within that breath or within that thought process, what I can say in regards to the traits for the Fused Hounds, there are a few new ones I think that, well, first of all, I know no one has ever seen before or maybe even expected to see in this collection, which is going to be just, it's so cool. And the different forms by the breeds. I think it's really a great idea, the way it's going to unfold, in the fact that you may not see a certain form for a certain breed, if that makes sense. So it may be like breed specific form traits. So, and one of those things here too, we have with factions, of course, and the war waged between the two mutants being Black Suit and Dark Fang, is that it's an easy delineator or deciding factor in easily being able to determine which side you're on is simply by the form of your fused hound. And I think it's going to be so cool because, we've seen it. People saying, I can't wait to see, a trippy fused, or, I can't wait to see a DMT fused, or a zombie fused, or bionic, all the different form traits that we've come to know and love. And then the cool thing is, those ones that you don't know about, I think that's going to be like, some of the, some awesome juice and hype being brought around that as well too. So indeed, any of our trait chads out there that just are chomping at the bit to, sink their hound fangs, into the, the different traits that are going to be out there, certainly you will have your fill when it comes to the Fused Hound reveal coming up this week.
So cool, and to know that the Dark Fang and Black Switch traits are split between the two or the four forms. That's gonna be sick. I love to hear that. Hell yeah, Alpha! Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Woo-hoo!
Let's go.
Yeah, well, let's get there. There's more to cover still. So Dao's coming up, but before that, we have this Dutch auction, which is kicking off on Monday. To create this total collection of 5,000 hounds. There's going to be 2,500 hounds that are available, selling essentially through Serum Dao, to my awareness. Is this correct?
That is correct. There can be a grand total. So all told, this collection will be a max of 5,000 total pieces in the Fused Hound collection, half of which created through the burning, just to set the record straight here. And that, of course, is going to be predicated on the OG hounds, the ETH hounds being burned. So as we mentioned earlier in this show, roughly 40% of that process has taken place. And until then, that's the only way the 2,500 can be created that way. The other half of the collection, the other 2,500, can be created through our upcoming Dutch auction. And as you mentioned there, and as is the format of an auction, it starts off at a 0.4 ETH mint price, or bid price, excuse me, and moves downward periodically through a formula timing that will lower the bid cost and move down to 0.1 ETH at the conclusion of the 24-hour auction. And during that span, again, 2,500 max will be available through that process. And these proceeds for the mint will be allocated directly to the Serum Dao treasury, which will help to accelerate the earliest growth of the Serum Dao, and is a great way to put the resources that started in the hands of either current or incoming community members and effectively go throughout a process that then puts it back into the hands of the same said community members and those participating in what we're doing, by virtue of allowing the Serum Dao and the future of the Mutant Cartel world to be controlled by the citizens of the Dao. So it is just a perfect, harmonious, that little third eye that we see dawned on a few of the awakened. Effectively, if you can look at, you start at the tip of the third eye there and go around and come back up to the top, is effectively there. Don't want to give away any sneak previews or anything that may be coming, but certainly this formulation of how that is unfolding for us is a great way to empower the Mutant Cartel world community to have this effectively be back into their hands. And this is going to be, we really feel this is going to be a spark for what is to come, with the Serum Dao.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I mean, for the community to be not only collecting the collection, but also contributing to a community fund to help advance the collection, I think that really will speak to people, where there's the opportunity for them. Yes, they're going to get this awesome asset, but also that those funds do then become available for people to utilize to create things to further the Mutant Cartel world. And that's kind of where we get into talking about the Serum Dao, right? Where we're going to see SIPs, serum improvement protocols, brought forward to the people, from the people of the community. The ranked members will be able to drop these on us. So, I mean, we're going to see all types of initiatives. I mean, I don't know if you've got wind dropped that you can talk about yet, but like, what's your vision of what this DAO could be, so like people can kind of understand its direction?
Yeah, certainly. So as you mentioned there too, this Serum DAO, it has been something that we at Novel Labs and the Cartel have always known that we were going to do. Like, for any of us that are, some OGs that may have been, tuning in with us for the over the years now, you'll remember, if you tap back into your memory banks, that our original website where we had things kicking off was called mutantdao.com, for example. And we knew from the jump that this was always the goal for this. And when it comes to now us being kind of in the spot where, the engine has now been dropped, into the chassis, the body and framework of your vehicle have all been put together. And now we're just ready to push our keyless start to rev that said engine and start to, pop the clutch into the spot where we can, put our pedal to the metal. This seeing all the components, right, as if you were looking at a parts blast on every component that goes into it. Effectively, it's been amazing to see each little intricacy involved in the process. Like, how do you have a citizenship for a DAO? We need to build a community, right? How do you have assets and IP for people to work with, to give a face of what you're creating effectively and to give you the ammunition to build with? Is to create unique collections or use permissionless IP, for example, that Yuga afforded us with the Mutant Ape Yacht Club. And all in all, which is, of course, the genesis of the Cartel. All in all, when you put all the components together to where we find ourselves today, it's a culmination of years in the making, right? So you take the Fuse Town collection, for example. These are all hand-drawn traits, from the artist that you spoke to, recently at on one of your Undead Hour shows here, that being Mr. Vice, for example, and the rest of the creative team. I need to first and foremost give them their shout out. That being, of course, Simon, Lip, and the rest of the Novel Labs creative team. They are just like savants at what they do. It's amazing. Another thing I could share too is, like, there were even Fuse Towns on the chopping block where it's like, oh, these are really good, but these ones are even better. So, it's we're going to have that tolerance level of what makes it to the official collection. And, it's a good sign when you can have that process, because then, it's you're putting it to the chopping block and the best of the best are going to make it. And that's just a microcosm of how what is created kind of goes through like that quality control process, right? And when it comes to being with the DAO, it was the alignment of being able to have this collection lead into the creation of the DAO, right? So for those that have been following along with it and our Serum DAO light paper, for example, you will see the timeline there. And each of these steps effectively have led into where we are now and where we are also on the doorstep of, as we mentioned too, with the Serum token generation. That is going to be everyone's like almost like homing beacon to realize, like, here we go with ramping things up. So, and even further note on that, and where the governance actually begins, is at the token generation event, right? So people have been collecting their assets, they've been participating. And for us, the Serum DAO, we took it as a Novel Labs, and big shout out to our founders and the team that's been working like just tireless hours to bring the formulation of the DAO together, is that we saw models of other DAOs where the biggest bag holders come in and just basically, wave their proverbial genitals around and make all the decisions themselves from two or three entities, and that's it. And there goes the vote. And while we realize that that is a model that can work in certain instances, we wanted to create a new model, right? That promotes participation, that promotes your reputation being boosted for what you've actually accomplished or been able to contribute or provide for others. So your holdings will always matter. Don't get me wrong. That's the starting point. To participate in Serum DAO, you need the Serum token. But the way that we've constructed our reputation model is that your performance, so to speak, and your, again, your contributions dictate the volume of your voice, or effectively how impactful your vote is. So we love the way that that's constructed in that fashion, so that we now get those that deserve the largest voice, they have the largest voice. And don't get me wrong, if you have a large amount of serum, you can still have a large say or large voting power. But those that maybe they don't have as much serum, but they've been contributing on a larger effect to get ranked up higher, right? To that have gone through all the different quests that are available, or the other different built-in items there on the Hideout or official Serum DAO website. They have the opportunity to then have their multiplier effectively elevate their voting power status. And the way we looked at that too is that model really sets forth a standard for the DAO that participation matters. Like what you do matters. That's one of our key, USPs for the Serum DAO. And where we see it going, I think this is a key component too, is the bounds with which Serum DAO are constrained to literally can be endless. This can be something where this could continue moving forward. And the reason why I say that too is by putting the power into the citizenship of the DAO, Mutant Cartel world, and the future of it into the hands of the members there. They have the opportunity and the capacity to shape it the way that they want to see it to be shaped by, again, like you mentioned, raising proposals, by stimulating the treasury through different cataclysmic events, so to speak, right? By putting on IRL events for awareness, by allocating serum for more serum for more participation, right? Getting the word out for those who are evangelists and passionate about what we do, in a public scale. There's so many different opportunities to be and acquiring more serum for staking your assets, for example. There's so many different opportunities to generate, to be able to collectively bring our minds together. That this certainly has the potential, based on the reputation model and some of the other aspects that we mentioned there, to really flourish and see itself to have a sustainable future in it. And the amazing part is, anyone listening to this show right now, anyone who's ever engaged with anything that the cartel has done, or A.F.F has done, or Dr. Dave, or anybody has completed, they have the opportunity to help to shape that future. So if there's a change that you want to see, be that change you want to see. Like, bring your ideas to the table. Bring your hard hat and your boots strapped up, ready to put forth some effort. And whatever future you want to see for it, it can be a reality.
Hell yeah! And it's a very wide scoping project. I mean, there's so much going on. It's like we could do this all day, and you'd still be telling us new stuff by the end of it. But like, I'm trying to just TLDR it to the tippity top of it, and it's like, you guys came along, you created a space for mutants, you created a collection for mutants that burned up into like top tier arts to give mutants like something that is their own, that they could maybe wave in the faces of the esteemed bored apes, and then you're also like providing them with access to steer the ship in shifts and be a part of it. So it's like, I think it's really cool. I think it's a very interesting project, the way that you guys have put everything together. And it's because I try to do that and like see it down to its root, and it blows me away. So kudos on that for sure. I think it's very impressive. I think people should be excited about this. I hope that people recognize its significance and are looking to take part in it, because I mean, we are being delivered the absolute pinnacle of what's out there right now. I mean, as far as art goes, Mr. Weiss absolutely kills it. I cannot wait to see these reveals. I tried to bend his ear a little bit after the show, before the show, during the show. I was just trying to get any alpha I could out of him. But I mean, you know, and I look forward to seeing people from the community and from the team being involved in what the DAO is doing. So I think there's going to be so much opportunity and so much cool shit to see that it's just like, it's a really exciting time, I think, to be a Cartelian. So I'm very happy to be here. I mean, I would assume you're feeling the same, V. It's a lot. There's like a lot of pressure and stuff going on right now. Yeah.
Oh, certainly. Like, look, and it's not missed on me in any aspect of that. And I have to give you credit too for, sometimes my elevator pitch is like we're going, to the top of one of those skyscrapers in Manhattan. Whereas when it comes to your
Totally.
elevator pitch, it might just be going to like second, third floor. But that's always good to truncate it. So by all means, let's splice up that little spot there too that we can share. But certainly,
Yeah.
from my vantage point, this really it has been, such a hefty undertaking. But indeed, like, look, like, I love, my mutant, and like, look, we've always said too, like, the uglier the better. I get that. Yeah, until someone says they hate your mouth trait every time they see it, right? And it's all good. Like, and I'm not, I'm not mad
Totally
about
though.
that. Like, and almost like I feel better that I have it that way. They're like, that's the worst mouth trait of any M1. I'm like, thank you. I really mean that. And I realize this too. You know what's on the precipice of happening now? Me changing that PFP I love come next week. So trust me, like, it is a long time coming in the making, and like, I realize this too. Like, we've seen some of these previews, like, and I am one of the lucky that will be getting an Awakened. I had a VIP oath and got the Canopic jar and went through the process, so I'll have one of a max 328 of the Awakened coming, and you're damn right that there's a very good chance that that will end up being my PFP. Now, background color notwithstanding, because again, this battle between the orange and the aquas and all these others, certainly will continue, I'm sure, to reign supreme. And me, if there's one thing you could probably anticipate is, and please no one corner the market if you're hearing this, but
Sure,
you're
you
gonna
want to say
see
this?
a merch fused hound. That's all I'm gonna say. Look, if I end up minting one, that'll just be the absolute bee's knees in my neck of the woods. But otherwise, like, I'm ready to move forward with that process, and that is kicking off on this upcoming week. Here too, shortly after, within 24 hours of this auction closing. We're definitely going to be there in celebration of it too. And I can't, just as we were talking about earlier in this show, the reactions, seeing people getting their mutant for the first time. We really feel this culmination and the buildup around the fused hounds will feel, in a similar breath of, here's your fused hound, or fused hounds plural for someone like a Shano, for example, who's got, just, I mean, a dozen Awakened coming, and another couple of the Baker's dozens worth of other few sounds on the way. This experience, right, is just going to be just so magical for us to come together. And of course, this is an informal, formal, however you want to depict it, invitation to be joining us for the
Yeah.
celebration around the reveal as well too, coming up this week, and knowing that one individual who is celebrating a brand new fused town, maybe they're going to change their PFP for one day, will then have to change it again because they're going to win a mutant ape. One lucky individual will end up being that. And oh, by the way, it will be a merch mutant. So for us, and of course, this is the second mutant given away by the cartel as well. Earlier in our longevity, we gave away a VIP exclusive M2 Frohawk mutant. And of course, this is the second opportunity for us to be able to do that and to pair it along with something as profound with Fusion. We're really looking forward to the reactions around that as well. And of course, that will be taking place as well in the Mutant Cartel Discord. So make sure for those that want to be a part of this history in the making, that you keep your notifications on and be at the ready, because this excitement is about to ramp up. And I know, like, look, I know for a fact that there's going to be some just absolutely sick IP coming right now. Just some really sick. I mean, look at what a fused hound is. The combination of two hound souls and an ape or a mutant combined into one, right? And some of the breeds, or one of them specifically, it has a war being waged in between it of to which side is, or which soul is being presented most within it, and the others. I've looked at it as characters in a comic, right? Is the different breeds that are available. And so this, as it's coming to life, is going to really be something truly special to experience. And I'm so stoked to have a front row seat for it.
Yeah, man. I'm so looking forward to it. I think the Black Soot Dark Fang dynamic is going to play out beautifully. I think that people have something to look forward to with the 3D renders that come with them. Just being in Other Side today, I mean, every single one of us was like, can't wait till this is my fucking Fuse Town. I'm going to look so much sicker in here. This is going to be badass. It's like just so cool. Everybody's very excited. There's going to be so many activations coming up. I know we have community activations. We have people who are, I don't know, maybe going to burn about 100 hounds over the next couple days. From what I'm told, we're going to be vibing for reveal spaces. We're going to have to do that. So definitely check in. Don't sleep. Don't miss out. Tune into Mutant Monday and come join. If you have questions, hit us up in the Discord, hit us up on X, send a smoke signal, whatever you got to do. We're here to help.
Yeah, light the flare gun from whatever
Yeah.
tent that you've currently erected on the hillside while you're touching some grass, because we will come and find you. You can think of it this way. A Cartelian is like a Navy SEAL. You just airdrop us into any situation and we'll find our way to make the most of said situation. And that's what I love about our community the most, right? Is like you talked about there. Someone's ready to have a great burn officially taking place, on their accord, or a combination of individuals willing to do that. If you need help, you know who to reach out to. If you need any questions about safety, any questions about experiences in this space, a Cartelian more than likely has the answers that you're seeking or can point you in the direction for them. And that's what I'm just so thankful for in this space. And look, and I wanted to touch on this too real quick is, someone like yourself and our fellow members of the committee. So for that Serum Dao that we're speaking about, we have the steering committee. I myself am one of the 7 esteemed members as a part of that, as are you, as are some of the other names we mentioned here during the show today. And this committee too, it's really amazing to encompass like what we can collectively create, and the governance framework that we're helping to put together is going to withstand potentially further than our tenure as committee members could potentially live, right? And to me, that is the true sign of an impactful creation, is leaving a legacy with it, right? It's something that can be moved forward past the time that you were a steward of it, because that's effectively what this opening committee is. And I look at that, and to be able to be a part of that has truly been like a really like impactful experience for me, knowing that how I see things, it may need some, tweaking and fine tuning, because there's a committee of individuals who also have their input on it. But what is the like going rate for it is, it's all done with the best interest of the Mutant Cartel world and the DAO citizenship in mind. So like any good guest on a show, Mr. A.F.F., I am now going to put on my investigation hat and turn the journalism pad back into my ledger and ask a question to you. Now, knowing your growth that has been very well documented in many a Mutant Monday or in an Undead Hour, formerly the Spaces, and now here onto the Undead Hour Show on YouTube and Spotify and all the different entities you're currently burning up the wire on. How has your vantage point afforded you when you explain the experience to someone, going from yourself as a community member to rising the ranks to officer, to now where you're bringing people together in this fashion as an SSC member that gets to help to guide the future of the Mutant Cartel world? Can you just share with the audience here too, and kind of some of that experience? Because I think it's very important to know kind of like where it is, from the person that's asking the questions as well.
Dude, it's interesting, right? And I've talked about this recently, but like going from straight up just a member, a holder, I held one asset, I think, when I started, which was the collar from which Carl came. Wasn't ranked yet, just had my one zombie. To getting to know who's in the community, seeing who's who, seeing what colors are, seeing who people listen to, who knows what they're talking about, to learning as I go and moving up through the ranks, truncated version all the way up to officer, then nominated into the RMC, transitioned into the SSC. Like this has been a whirlwind in these past couple of years, but I still feel like a standard member. Like I don't feel like anything's changed with me. Like my communication with people has always been open. If I try to help people just as much as I always did once I got that knowledge base. But I found out today, like some people even consider like the being SSC level, that somebody called me team. And he's like, you know, stuff that you don't share. I'm like, dude, I don't, I appreciate that. It, you know, it tickles my feathers to make me think that you think I'm on the team of this awesome collab, this creation of 20 people who are just forming this awesome thing. So it's been cool. I mean, to be a part of something that I was interested in based off of research. You know, like this was something that I found on my own. Nobody marketed me into this. I wasn't like pitched. I wasn't someone's exit liquidity. I came in and based off research, checked out the vibe and stayed for the vibe. And the vibe has been what keeps me coming back, and being a member of the community here is what keeps me coming back, because I cannot say this enough. I just feel like this community is just stacked with interesting, talented, intelligent people from all different walks of life, from different parts of the world, and having access to these people, building relationships with these people, building together with these people, like creating within the space and contributing to the cartel, via creating factions based off our forms that we're in love with. You know, that was a lot of fun, where we built stuff together. The Dark Fang factions formed together to be the Undead Army, and we were collaborating with other projects and onboarding people and meeting people at events and getting art commissioned to tell our own story that's part of the greater story of the Black Soot and Dark Fang War. So I mean, like, just it's been honest, like it's really rewarding to move forward, because as I've done that, I've collaborated with people. So I spent time shooting ideas around and having conversations and taking phone calls and creating stuff together. And those experiences are just bonds, you know? So it's just, we've really built like a tight community. And then you just see like more people attracting and coming in with more and more talent. I think we just have, you know, like top tier artists, top tier musicians, devs. Like there's so many people in this community that are just so talented that it's like, it's very attractive, because you see the people who are a part of it and you're like, oh, what's that guy doing? And you see everything going on, and it's like, people are like, what the fuck? What is all this? You have so much going on. Can you explain this to me? And I'm like, fuck yeah, sit down and grab a drink. You know, we're going to talk. Meet me in the VC. So, I mean, yeah, dude, I can't say enough nice things, honestly, because it's been rewarding. My ROI is high. You know, market sentiment, it comes and goes, and projects come and go, and cryptos come and go. But like, you know, you see the ones that have withstood the test of bears, and like the bulk of the experience was through the bear market. So like, you know, and we've all been here, we've been doing this together, and like made it through these times. So I think, shit, my light just died. I think, it's been really exciting and rewarding. So it's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
certainly.
very
Look,
happy
if
to be,
someone would
you know?
have put a little investment into A.F.F stock at the outset of his Web3 experience, they would certainly be up, you know, lighting their green candle perched atop, certainly, because this growth and, like you said, the return on investment for your time certainly has. I feel, you know, like this maturation we've seen, not just from yourself, but from so many others, has just been really, you know, a sight to see. And even I myself can fall into that category as well too. So I mean, amazing to hear that experience, you know, on your behalf, and we definitely look forward to not just with your guests coming on your future, but just in general, you know, anyone's maturation in this process has just been truly just great to see, and we want to continue to see it moving forward even more so. So appreciate you sharing that, you know, with our
Absolutely.
audience here as well too, as I'm sure you have done, you know, on previous occasions for this.
I try, you know. on occasion. Well, dude, I don't want to take up your whole day, but I appreciate you spending some time with us and chatting about this. Is there anything that you still want to touch on or highlight as to the conversation?
I mean, other than the fact that I appreciate you so much and all those foot pick DMs over all of the years, I mean, how else did you reach the status that you're at? But no, honestly, like the last thing I guess I'll say for me is, look, we realize like what it takes, right, for someone to participate in what we're doing, and there's so many different avenues that could consume someone's time and attention span. And like at least on my behalf and the rest of the novel team and you know, or depending if they're considering SSC team or just tongue in cheek, is that, you know, we appreciate everyone that has ever like taken the opportunity to like participate in anything that we've done to kind of like, you know, join up with the cartel. It means like the absolute world to us, right? And like I said, we had humble beginnings, of like, you know, being such a small community that, oh, maybe this could be something that sticks, and now here we are, right? Like the canvas has been filled in with just so many you know, intricate colors and so many like amazing characters, that like this, we now need, you know, another easel to the side of it, because the canvas is continuing to grow. And it's for individuals like yourself, and your co-host here, for this, Dave, for example, that really like are the best parts of what we, you know, have like started, and then it's just like branching off into more, and that's what we love to see, what we want to continue to champion, and definitely a call to action for anyone too, is that to get the best experience, participation will be requisite. So for that, I want to give my sincere gratitude, to not just yourself, but everyone that has, you know, tuned into these shows here, participated in any capacity, joined us for Mutant Mondays, anything like that. That's just, you know, a little above like the norm level of dropping the GM and things like that. It's all a necessary part of the process. But for those that have really, you know, gone out and above and beyond, we're really appreciative of that. And in the end, like, we're all here together because we have the same common goal, right? And that's for us to all see what the work that we've been putting in, to succeed in the long term. So for that, I want to say thanks, you know, again, for everyone who's been a part of what we're doing and for having me on this show today. Absolute pleasure, to be here to chop it up with you. And we know that, you know, this conversation will always continue with you. You know, future Undead Hour spaces, or in the VC there in the Mutant Cartel Discord, and in other spaces, you know, in private and public, all that good stuff. And next time we get a chance to meet, like we kicked off this, show talking about, you know, we met up in Miami. The next time that comes around, maybe this summer coming up, something along those lines. Can't wait for that experience again. And maybe for anyone that's joining us public, in that capacity, you get a chance to see me doxed IRL, because that, of course, is my policy there. But indeed, a supreme salute to you, a tip of the cap to everything we've been able to accomplish, and definitely stoked, to be, one of the very rare and esteemed guests that you've had so far on the Undead Hour, and can't wait, to see the finished version of this, and of course all of the future episodes you have cooking up.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to be here and having this conversation, with one of your esteemed community members. Happy to be here, dude, and so excited to see what comes in the future, and can't wait to do it again. So thanks for your time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for joining in the Undead Hour for a special episode with Vngrd Cartel Boss, to give you the ins and outs, everything you need to know of what's going on with Cartel Fusion. Any questions you have, see us in the Discord. Find them on X at mutant_cartel. And I'm your boy, A.F.F., joined by Vngrd, episode number 15. Thanks for joining.
Peace.